Hola, señores y señoras. I'm back. Hey, you know what? I've been working out. I got a machete and I've been doing my yard with a machete. So, and I don't know, you probably don't know this, but I live in a neighborhood like it's a lower middle class, like maybe middle class neighborhood. I don't really know what middle class is. Like, I tell somebody that it's middle class and they're like, no, you have to make $100,000 for it to be middle class. I'm like, what? That's a lot of money. $100,000 to be middle class? I don't think so. If you ask me, middle class is like you make like 60 grand or something like that, or maybe less. But I live in this neighborhood, believe it or not, and I don't make anywhere near that. Just look at my Patreon that you don't donate to. And you know what? That Patreon thing is, I don't know, man. I just, honestly, first of all, I don't like asking people for money, as you already know. And second of all, the Patreon thing is like you pay me per episode or you pay me monthly. I might change it to like pay me per episode. But the monthly thing is like, I feel like you're supporting me in a way that I'm not 100% comfortable with. Like maybe it'd be better if I got advertisers and they could do a spot on the podcast. Excuse me. Like if I got advertisers and, excuse me, I gotta clear my throat here. And they could do a spot on the podcast. And I could do a spot on the podcast with the advertisers and they could pay me. But I have to grow my listenership more to make that worth my while. So anyhow, I was talking to you about my machete. My machete. I bought this machete, right? And I was hacking away at my yard like the way people use weed whackers and things like to trim bushes and stuff. And I got them all straight and everything and round where I want them round. But I did it with a machete and it's quite a workout. I got to tell you right now. The next time I do it, I guess I'm going to I was using my right hand. Next time I guess I'll use my left hand. I hope everything comes out okay and I don't hurt myself or anybody. But you know what? People are afraid of machetes, but the weed whacker, I mean, that could really damage somebody, right? Like you slap somebody in the neck or the face with that thing. That's what I'm thinking anyway. But I guess it's kind of scary to see a Chicano with a machete in his yard, in his front yard, hacking away at stuff. Who knows? I don't know. But I'll tell you, I was thinking about a couple things. I'm going to have a meditation at the end of this, by the way. And if you want to listen to the meditation, just skip ahead to whatever minute. I don't know yet because I haven't shut up yet. But I was thinking about something. I work at this place, and from time to time I run into this girl. She's really this woman girl. She's a young woman. But she's probably like 26 or 27. And she said something to me. I was playing music, and then we finished the thing, and then she said to me, she was talking to me about her life. And I'm not trying to rag on her at all. I'm not trying to pick on her. But I was thinking about something. She said to me, we were talking about the weather and climate change. And then she started talking to me about Christianity and how she's prepared and she's afraid. So she gets scared sometimes because she knows the end is coming. And she goes, do you ever freak out about that? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, she goes like, in the apocalypse, the end is coming and the signs are here. And I didn't register. I didn't say anything. I didn't make a face really or anything, but I paused and I said, just told her no. And I guess I chuckled. I must have chuckled. And not in a way that would make her feel silly. But it made me think of how many people, how many adults believe this kind of thing. And this grows not just Christianity, but across all religions, different kinds of religions. which I'm not going to name all of them right now, but of course, but you know what I'm talking about, just religions. And they have these kinds of beliefs, and how many people believe these things. It makes me wonder, what am I like that about? Like what that I can't perceive right now? Like I'm sure she can't perceive it about herself. I think personally that it's ridiculous. And now there may be some truth to it. Like, for example, perhaps the world will end. We know that the world is going to end one day. So there's some truth to it in that sense. We know that there's going to be a natural disaster one day. However, I don't see it like some preordained, like from prophecy from 2,000 years ago type of thing. I don't think it's that time anymore. It's not that time in our intellectual, what's intellectually available, the knowledge that's intellectually available. It's not that time anymore. So there's people walking around believing these kinds of things today. And I don't hold it against them. I don't blame anybody. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to pick on her. I'm not trying to judge anyone. But I do have my thoughts, my own thoughts on it. And they don't agree with that. So what do you make of this? Like, what do I make of this? It's a pretty scary thing to think that today there's a grown, adults who are walking around with these kinds of motivations for making their decisions in life. It's alarming because how many of these people are in power, in positions of power, in positions of gatekeeper positions that they can steer society from. So it can be that kind of thought that what was revealed to me is somewhat disheartening, but it's not anything serious. Like it doesn't get me down or anything like that. But it's disheartening, like intellectually, like where we're at. And if I had more time, I would make friends with her, and I would try to influence that somehow. I would take some time to try to do that. But I'm a parent and I have to influence, well, let's just say I have no spare time. Hardly. I just dropped my phone, excuse me. Another thing that I was thinking about is Sam Harris. If you don't know who Sam Harris is, he's a neuroscientist and he's an intellectual, and he's been very popular with the atheist movement. I listen to his podcast, and his podcast is not the only podcast that I listen to, but it's one of them that I listen to. I really enjoy listening to what's predictable logic. It's nice to listen to it when that's what I want to hear, like predictable logic. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't have any creativity in his thinking, but that's basically how I encapsulate what his brand. Sorry, Sam, I don't mean to do that to you. That's how I encapsulate his podcast. Like, that's what he does most consistently, not always, but he uses words in a way like he has an immense vocabulary compared to me and compared to like maybe just about everybody that I know. But I was thinking that listening to him, sometimes it gets on my nerves because there's only so many things that you can say as a human being. For example, there's only so many directions you can travel: forward, backwards, left, right, up, down, right? And how many different kinds of words and nuances, like if we're going to go north, you can go northeast, you can go north by northeast, if you're going to use the compass terminology. And words I appreciate the tool of words very much so, even though I find them extremely limiting for expressing feelings and even ideas. You have to really work and develop a relationship with a language in order to have what they call command, to be to be somewhat comfortable with expressing yourself with it in a timely manner and as accurately as possible. And I think that expressing yourself in a language like English, any language really, is frustrating if you're trying to be accurate, if you're trying to be precise, because you could only kind of get there. And every once in a while, you can nail it, right? Like that's like something that can go on a bumper sticker because it just nails it. But we can't be satisfied with bumper sticker wisdom, as Taylor Molly put it. Bumper sticker wisdom. Now, that kind of thinking, that kind of the way that Sam Harris uses language, to me is it seems limiting, because he's speaking by the book. And if it's not in the book, then he won't be able to express it. And really, like I was saying, how many directions can you possibly go in the physical world? How many things are there really to say? And the more specific a word gets to describe something, the more of an abstract thought that it is. It's not about direction, going forward or going backwards. Now, you might say, well, this is what being intelligent is. This is intellectualism. This is intelligence, because you can hang on to concepts that don't have a physical image to them, like mathematics, let's say, maybe. I don't really understand mathematics as well as almost everybody, but I can do arithmetic just fine. But when it comes to advanced math, forget it. Anyhow, people say that this kind of thing is intelligence. And I know it's one kind of intelligence, but it's, like I said, it's very boxy and it's very limiting. Now, on the other hand, I come from a neighborhood with Hispanic people in it predominantly. And when I moved from there, I felt most comfortable hanging out in the black community, for many years. Now I live over here with the white folks, and it's very uncomfortable. But, I love them like I love everybody, and there you go. Now, when I was hanging out with the black community and with the Hispanic crew, yes, you guys are my crew now. So when I was hanging out with them, there's a different kind of way of expressing yourself that has to do with body language and tone and timing and maybe a couple of other things. And this is something that, like, Sam Harris lacks, right? And it's a shame, because his podcast is audio and you can use your inflection. But instead, he talks more like, well, the epistemology and the onus of that situation lies with the people behind the intervention. And I can't say that I feel, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I was trying to think of this word that he keeps using lately, and I'm like, I don't really like the sound of that word, but it's probably a good word. That's besides the point. Back to my point is, I was saying that way of talking is a certain way. It would be, you know what? I need to hang out with Sam Harris, and he needs to hang out with me, and then I could rub off on him, and then he can start expressing himself in a more well-rounded way. That way, I know a lot of the times in my podcast, I'm talking to you right now because I usually do it at night and people are asleep, and I'm talking close to the microphone. So what I learned from, like, where I come from, like, let's say the minorities, right, is that words in the dictionary aren't the only words. You can make words up, and the other person will still know what you mean. However, in Sam's case, he's a scientist, and he has to maybe go back to the book and verify that he was saying this or that. But you could still argue about that forever. And trust me, living with an American wife, and in that culture, I can tell you that people argue over words and what they mean all the time. Okay. So, but In the other culture that I'm talking about, where I come from, it's more like, you feel me? You got it? And like, yeah, I feel you. Like, you want to understand the person. And you're trying to understand the person. You're not trying to find holes in the person's argument all the time, maybe hardly ever. So it's just something to think about. And it's something that I think about. I consider, but I love his podcasts, and I think he has it in for Muslims in a way that I can't say I disagree with everything he says, but he's really on this, and the way that he breaks everything down has to do with, it's almost like a moralizing. It's not just intellectualism, it's like moralizing, because you're trying to find ethics. It's like an ethics discussion. Well, is it ethical to say and do this, but not ethical to say and do this other thing? Or, things like that. I have to say that one of my favorite episodes, one of my favorite Sam Harris episodes, is the one that he did with, holy shit, I can't remember that guy's name. Why would I remember his name? Anyhow, damn it. What's that guy's name? You know what? I have a freaking phone right here. I can look it up, and I can do that thing. If you were standing right here in front of me, you'd be like, oh man, he's picking up his phone. He's going to look this thing up. But the guy's last name is actually Weinstein, and I don't remember his first name. And that was one of my favorite episodes, because Sam Harris let this guy come on his show and challenge some of his thoughts that you would usually think that somebody wouldn't challenge. And the guy made really good points. And, Sam Harris actually published it anyway, even though the guy was maybe had better reasoning in some cases than Sam did. So, I listen to Sam Harris's podcast. I listen to several episodes of Joe Rogan's podcast. I usually skip the fight episodes because I don't really care that much about fighting. And I listen to Theory of Everything with Benjamin Walker and some Radio Lab and Christopher Ryan, PhD. Christopher Ryan's Sex at Dawn guy. I listen to his podcast, Tangentially Speaking. I listen to, what else do I listen to? Dan Carlin's podcast, Hardcore History and Common Sense, of course. That's a must, right? If you're in the podcast world, that's a must. So I also listen to Duncan Trussell. Why am I telling you this list? So I guess. You know what? As a matter of fact, in my last podcast episode with Gina Martinelli, I put a list of my favorite podcasts on there. Not episodes, but... So there's about 1,000 podcasts, maybe 10,000. I only like 7. If it's... I don't like short podcasts, really. I know that I make short podcasts pretty often, but I'm not crazy about it myself. Is that hypocritical of me? I don't think so. I don't have to listen to it. I'm not going to listen to this podcast. Thank you very much for listening, by the way. So, I'll tell you what. I can... there was one other thing I wanted to talk about, and it had to do with my kids. Something that I learned from my kids. And it's that... This is for all you parents out there, right? And if you're going to be a parent, and if you're going to end up having... And if you're not a parent, you might end up having to adopt someone or have a foster kid or be an uncle. I'll tell you something about this. Amazing. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they're aware of parental absence. Now, in the house, I'll give you an illustration. I'll just start off with what I'm talking about here. In my home, if I'm sweeping or doing the dishes or cooking, right? If I'm doing something that they, with their limited knowledge and growing biology, can identify, can understand, they're at peace, right? But if I'm doing something like playing the guitar, being on the computer, or looking at my phone, they don't like that. Or taking a nap. They won't let me take a nap. They don't like their parents to go away. It's almost like if they know that they can perish without their parent around. And so I noticed that they don't like that in their mother either. Like if their mother is my spouse, if she's looking at her cell phone a lot, or if she's looking at her computer, they don't like that either. They won't let me take a nap. They come in and check on me like every 15 minutes, for sure every half hour, but like let's say 20 minutes maximum. If I'm in another room, they have to come and see that I'm there. I do that to them too, but they're not supposed to be doing that to me because I'm the parent. So when I'm sweeping and I'm doing the dishes and I'm, maybe working on something in the house, and they could see that, they understand it, they could hear it, they don't mind it. Even playing music, it took the longest time for my 3-year-old to get used to me playing music because she could see that I go away when I'm doing it. And she didn't like it for the longest time. Now she doesn't mind it so much. Now she understands that I'm here and she can keep tabs on me because she can hear me from the other room. But I just wanted to say that about how children know absence. And if you have kids in the house, looking at your cell phone and zoning out, tuning out. Have you ever considered this? I was thinking the other day, sometimes my wife gets on these rolls where she's on her computer a lot or on her phone. She's walking through the house with her phone. And I definitely don't do it as much as she does. And but when I passed her in the hallway, I thought to myself, what does this look like if you take the phone away? Like the person's looking down or standing in the hallway or standing over there and they're just looking at it, right? You could say, well, somebody would be doing the same thing if they were reading a book. However, it doesn't work the same because you're not really going to walk around the house reading a book, and it's different. It's on a different level. It really bothers me when people try to minimize a new phenomenon by comparing it to an old phenomenon that's not even really in the same league. Can I make my phone have 1,000 people behind it who are trying to manipulate me and keep me on this phone through marketing, through algorithms, through studying my finger movements or my mouse movements or the sounds in the room, things that I click on. So yeah, you parents out there, if you're on the phone, if you're on your computer, you're largely absent from being present with your kids. So check that out. I know people love it. People fucking love it. Hey, you downloaded this from a phone or computer too, right? That's another person. Another person's gonna be like, that's funny. It's ironic, Elias, because it's on a computer too. I downloaded a computer and you said, I don't even understand. I don't even know what the hell I was saying right there. I can't make a voice. You see, I can't make a voice because it'll be too loud. And I was being distracted by how loud I was being with that goofy voice. That's ironic because I downloaded this on the computer and you said computers suck. There's a whole lot of moralizing going on the internet. As a matter of fact, I think that's what social media is all about, really, moralizing right now. There's a lot of that going on. And man, it is super trite to me. I don't even pay attention to that kind of stuff. Anymore. When people are like calling each other's morals out, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this ethical dispute right here when I know the answer. If I know the answer to it, it doesn't interest me. If I don't know if it's a good ethical dispute for me, something that I'm like, I don't really know. Is that good? Is that wrong? Is that good? I'll entertain that one. But apparently I have a broad range of ethical understanding, apparently. I don't know. That's how I act on the internet, apparently, because I don't engage very many of them. So I'll tell you what. It's time for the meditation. You ready? All right, here we go. This meditation is called we'll call it bringing yourself back. We'll call it reeling yourself in. So this is about when you're scatterbrained, And you can take it with you. You can put it in your pocket, put it in your heart, put it in your mind, wherever you want to keep it. When you're scatterbrained, or when you need to find some peace, or when you feel spread too thin, things like that, things of that nature, you can call yourself back. But what I mean is, if you sit comfortably or lay down comfortably, or if you're driving and you can manage to listen to this comfortably without crashing into anyone or anything. Actually, no, you can't do it while driving because I'm going to tell you to close your eyes. So, if there's any blind people driving out there, please pull over right now. But you don't even have to close your eyes, really. But it helps. So close your eyes, for those of you who are not driving, or do it later, and consider where you are. Go through the whole thing. Like, you can take a deep breath. Oh, I'll take one with you. What does that do? It's pretty amazing. Breathing is great, right? Anyhow, you can take a few more if you want to. But just get this system down. So after your eyes are closed and you've taken a few breaths or one breath, you picture yourself. Where are you? Where is your brain? Where's your mind? Where are your thoughts going to? Are you arguing with a girlfriend from high school that you haven't seen in 15 years and you were in the wrong? Are you at somebody's funeral that passed away last year? Are you at the grocery store because you forgot to buy pepper? Are you in the future somewhere doing this thing that you find very nerve-wracking? Are you at home and you're at work and you want to be at home? Are you at home and you want to be at work, so you're at work? Believe it or not, you can be like 100 places at the same time. Or switching between them very quickly. So no matter where you are, except for where you are right now, if you're arguing with someone, if you're remembering a time that was embarrassing and you're there and your mind is over there, you can collect yourself. You can reel yourself in. You can bring yourself back. If you're remembering a time where something happened with something you didn't like, something that you didn't like, you can reel yourself back in from that. If you're at the grocery store because you know that you were supposed to go there but you didn't, you can reel yourself in and bring yourself back and collect yourself. You have to collect yourself for this. And you're going to keep, parts of you are going to keep trying to escape. Like a balloon that you squeeze, it's going to try to come out of the bottom or the top. And when that happens, just collect yourself again. No matter where else you are, besides right here where you are, collect yourself and reel yourself in. I'm not exactly sure what this does, but I heard that it gets you really high. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not exactly sure what this does, but I know that when I do it, I feel like a sort of a concentration of power. And I feel the power of concentration is more like what I should say. Because my resources aren't spread out all over the place, mentally. Maybe even spiritually, however it works. So that's a tool that you can do. That's a tool that you can do. That's a tool that you can use Let's reel myself in from that last thing that I just said. And I think that you can listen to me during this podcast. I think you can hear me reel myself in after I say something dumb. Like, take that back. So what this does is it puts you in the present moment, right? And that's like a cliche now, right? To say that. It's unfortunate because it's a good thing. Playing music puts you in the present moment. You have to be. If you're going to be playing music with other people, you got to be listening and you got to be there. So it puts you in the present moment. And it calms you because you're not all over the place and you don't have like 20 plates spinning. You know those guys that go around and they put a plate on a stick and they spin it? So you might have like 15 of those going on. When you do this, you just have one and it's on top of your head. And it's one of those plates that you find like at grandmother's houses and they have like a drawing of like dogs playing pool on them or something like that. That's the kind of plate that it is. No, actually, whatever kind of plate you want it to be. So remember this meditation. It's a tool that I basically made up, but you know how these things go. You don't really make anything up. I'm sure I was influenced by a bunch of places. So we'll call it, you can call it collecting yourself. You can call it reeling yourself in. You can call it concentrating your power. You can call it gathering yourself. And it's dope, and I do it, and I practice it. I wouldn't be telling you about it if I didn't. And you know what? It's time to go. And I love you, and I hope you're having a good time. And if you're not having a good time, let me know if there's anything I can do. I will do everything in my power to help you out. And for those of you who don't know, you can donate to this podcast. I know people don't have money. But if you do have money, you're balling. It's at atlanticradio.blogspot.com. And if you take a moment, you can look at the options there for how you can donate to this podcast. If you can't do any of those and you like it, just please share it with somebody. And why should you share this with somebody, right? What do I care? What do you care? Well, I'm putting content out there, and I think it's decent, at least. And maybe, people would like to hear it. Some people that would like to hear it. Oh yeah, one more thing. I'm going to give you an update. The mariachi band. I don't mean to get you all out of the meditative state. Not that was very meditative. But the mariachi band is going pretty good. I'm waiting for my costume still. And you'll be hearing from us soon. Mariachi Primera Costa. Por vida ese.